back to oxidative stress. So you can imagine as we get older, all the diseases that we hear about that people get are related back to oxidative stress. So what if we had the ability to reduce that oxidative stress back to the level that we had when we were a child? And that's exactly what we're talking about here. Now, here's the problem. When we're young, our bodies do a very effective job at fighting those free radicals and getting rid of them before they do damage, before they cause that oxidative stress to our cells, because we have a built-in antioxidant defense system. Our own cells create enzymes, things like superoxide dismutase and catalase and glutatione and hundreds of other protective enzymes that will neutralize those free radicals before they can cause damage to our cells. The problem is, as we get older, past the age of 20, our bodies produce progressively less and less of those protective enzymes. And so the result is those free radicals that we're building up every day don't get diminished or don't get neutralized because we lack the capacity to do that as we age. And they build up and they start causing more and more damage, leading to all of the things associated with aging, all of the signs and symptoms of aging. You know, the things that we typically look at as somebody gets older, wrinkles and gray hair and so forth. In fact, the primary reason why people go gray is they lose catalase in their hair follicles. But all of these diseases that are associated with aging are also the result of this cumulative effect of free radical damage causing oxidative stress because we lose the ability to fight the free radicals. So what Protandim does is it increases the production of these antioxidant enzymes back up to the level that you had when you were 20 years old, so you can more effectively fight the free radicals. Now, if you look at the left-hand part of the slide, you can see all of these other things that cause or contribute to oxidative stress. The EMFs from cell phones, insecticides and pesticides that we spray on stuff, gasoline fumes, lead acid batteries, pollution from factories, excessive exercise, water pollution, microwaves, etc. All of these things that we're exposed to in our environment increase oxidative stress. Now, as much as we'd like to, we try to avoid all the things that we know that are bad for us, but in today's society, it's really impossible to avoid everything. So we need an edge. We need something else to help us to reduce that oxidative stress. And that's where Protandim comes in. So in the past, what we've done to try to reduce oxidative stress is to eat a healthy diet rich in fruits and vegetables. And the deeply pigmented fruits in particular are very high in antioxidants, but these are things that we call direct antioxidants. And what I mean by that is they directly neutralize the free radicals in a one-to-one fashion. So that one molecule of, say, vitamin E or vitamin C or beta carotene will neutralize one free radical molecule, and then the process is over. With Protandim, it's not a direct antioxidant. In fact, Protandim itself is not an antioxidant at all. What it does is it causes the genes that create the antioxidant enzymes like catalase and superoxide dismutase and glutathione. It turns on those genes so your own cells start producing more of what they were designed to create, those protective antioxidant enzymes. And if you take one molecule of SOD, for example, it can neutralize up to 1 million free radical molecules before it gets used up. So it's literally 1 million times more potent than a molecule of vitamin E or vitamin C. So when people talk to me and they say, well, I'm already taking an antioxidant, I really don't understand why I might want to take Protandim, it's an apples and oranges kind of a story. This is literally 1 million times more potent at neutralizing those free radicals. So when I was still practicing cardiology and I was scouring the literature for antioxidants and prevention of cardiovascular disease, I was sorely disappointed because all of the studies, they looked at things like vitamin E and vitamin C, and the bottom line was those things don't do anything to reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease. And the reason why, in hindsight now, I believe, is because they're so weak at reducing the free radical damage because of the one-to-one interaction as opposed to 1 million to 1. So the 1 million to 1 is really the key, and that's the differentiating feature between us and everything else out there on the market. There's not anything out there that can reduce the oxidative stress like Protandim can. Now, as I was doing my due diligence on Protandim, I said to myself, okay, I need to find out for myself what scientific studies are out there. Because as a preventive cardiologist, I would have patients come in all the time and say to me, hey, Dr. Gordon, what do you know about this supplement X or the supplement Y or supplement Z? And I say, I don't know. Let's go look it up on this website called pubmed.gov, pubmed.gov, because that's the National Institutes of Health website for medical research. So I would type in the name of their supplement, and 99% of the time, there were no scientific studies. So I'd go back to the person and I'd say, you know, I don't know if this is going to do you any good or not because there's no science behind it. There's no studies. So when I first heard about Protandim, that's exactly what I thought I was going to find as well. But what I did when I went to PubMed is I was pleasantly surprised because at the time they had 7 published peer-reviewed scientific studies, and this was back in November of 2010. We now have 23 published peer-reviewed studies on Protandim. And I would defy you to find any other branded supplement sold through a network marketing company that has that kind of research behind it. So as I was looking and doing my due diligence, I found on this slide some of the universities that were doing studies and some of the other organizations. You know, Harvard, Texas Tech, the American Heart Association, Ohio State. When I saw the American Heart Association published a study about a branded supplement sold through a network marketing company, and it was an all positive study, that was my aha moment. That's where I said, this is the real deal. This is not snake oil. The American Heart Association is not going to publish an article about snake oil or about some product sold by some scam company. So I was all in. I said, this is a product that I'm going to take for the rest of my life, and I'm going to give it to everybody that I know and love, and I want them to take it for the rest of their life too. Never intended to do the business. I just wanted to take the product and share it with a few people. Lo and behold, now 7 years later, I'm retired from my cardiology job, and this is what I do full time. And I'm excited about it because I can touch more people doing this than I could ever touch doing cardiology. Now, as I was doing my due diligence, in addition to Protandim and the 23 published studies, I found that, you know, nutraceutical products are what people are looking for these days, but the pharmaceutical companies understand that, and they want to get on the bandwagon of this whole Nerf2 thing as well. So there are now drug companies that are developing drugs that are Nerf2 activators that work by the same mechanism as Protandim to treat a variety of different health conditions, like we're on that slide that I showed you with the different organ systems. So the way that Protandim works is through this very unique pathway called NRF2. NRF2 is a protein that's in every cell in our body. And when turned on or activated, it goes into the nucleus of the cell, and it turns on those genes that code for those antioxidant enzymes. Eddie Hendricks, you need to mute your line, please. Thank you. So it turns on those genes that code for those antioxidant enzymes, and it increases the production back to the level that you had when you were 20 years old. That's the beauty of Protandim. That's how it works. So these drug companies found out about this NERV2 pathway and decided they wanted to utilize it as well. So to my knowledge, there are 2 drugs available that are NRF2 activators. One is called Tecfidera for the treatment of multiple sclerosis, and the other is a drug called Radicava, which is for the treatment of ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. Those 2 drugs have FDA approval because they've done the studies in those diseases to show that they actually cause a benefit. Tecfidera is about $50,000 a year, and Radicava is about $150,000 a year. Protandim is a NERV2 activator as well, but because of the laws and the FDA rules, since it is a nutritional supplement, plant-based, we are not allowed to make any disease-specific claims that we cure, treat, or prevent anything. All we can do is show you the research and let you draw your own conclusions for yourself. But I'm very excited about the potential that we have with Protandim. So this is an article that I love to give people, particularly science-based people who are looking at Protandim and Nerv2 for the first time. This is an article that came out in February of 2015, and it's a review article looking at all of the different disease states that have been studied with regard to NERV2 activation. And the basic theme of the study was, or the basic theme of the article was, just about every disease that they looked at improved as you activated NRF2. And to date, Protandim is the most potent activator of NRF2 that's been studied. In all the comparative studies, Protandim has always come out on top as far as its potency with regard to activating NRF2. And this particular article does indeed talk about Protandim, but that's not the focus of this article. So that's why I like it. It's very balanced. It talks about other NRF2 activators as well and what they've seen with regard to certain disease states. And this is one of their concluding statements from this article. NRF2 may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventive breakthrough in the history of medicine. That is a big deal, and we're at the very beginning stages of this. Oregon State University also did a number of studies on NRF2 and longevity. And basically what they found was that the animals that lived the longest had the highest levels of NRF2. Not only did they live the longest, but they stayed the healthiest the longest as well. So they called this NRF2 the longevity assurance factor. This is a comparative study of Protandim to Tecfidera. This was before they had FDA approval for Tecfidera. It was codenamed BG12. And if you look at just the bold-faced thing in the conclusion there, interestingly, Protandim, a dietary supplement consisting of herbal ingredients, was the most potent inducer and therefore maybe the most suited as a therapeutic strategy. This was looking at protecting nerve cells in multiple sclerosis. And this study was funded by the company that makes Tecfidera. Now, I'm not making any claims that Protandim is a cure or treatment for multiple sclerosis. I'm just showing you the research that this particular drug company did comparing their drug to Protandim. And again, you can draw your own conclusions. So what we've been talking about to this point is Protandim NRF2, our flagship product, clinically proven to reduce oxidative stress an average of 40% in 30 days. And most recently, the National Institute on Aging did a study on Protandim, and Protandim was found to be the only natural product to extend lifespan. Somebody has music playing in the background. If you could please mute your line, I would greatly appreciate it. I'm not certain who it is. I can't look through all 500 people, but if you could please mute your line. Very distracting. Okay, sorry guys, I'm going to have to get out of this and mute everybody. Okay. So the National Institute on Aging study showing that Protandim was the only natural product to extend lifespan is huge. That is something that everybody should be excited about. And if you're just hearing about this for the first time, regardless of all the other studies, that should be reason enough why you want to take this as your life. Now, why is Protandim so potent? You know, most of the time when I've seen drugs that compete against natural products that work through the same pathway, Thomas Anderson, please mute your line. Thank you. When I've seen drugs that work through the same pathway as an all-natural product, usually the drugs are significantly more potent. So the reason why Protandim is more potent has to do with the synergy of the ingredients. Protandim is made up of 5 plant-based compounds: ashwagandha, bacopa green tea, milk thistle, and turmeric. And if you look at this graph, you can see that any one of the individual ingredients really does very little. But when you put the 5 together in the ratio that's in Protandim, there's an 18-fold increase in effect. That's why Protandim is above and beyond the most potent NRF2 activator on the market, including the pharmaceutical products. Now, following the huge success of Protandim NRF2, the company came out with another Protandim NRF1, and this does something completely different. So as we talked about with Protandim NRF2, that reduces